Good morning, everyone. We're meeting at the Agricultural Extension Center right here in this auditorium at 309 North Parkway in good old Jackson, Tennessee. Believe it or not, it's Monday, December the 21st, 2020, and it's 8:31. It looks like we may have a quorum. I believe we do. Hopefully we do. If we'll all stand. Jeff Wall.
Mr. Chairman, today we have Dr. Steve Beverly from University, and West Tennessee Today is going to deliver our invocation and pledge allegiance this morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
My father was a minister, and he was one of the most beloved people who was a clergyman in South Georgia. And he loved this time of year because he loved telling the story of Christmas, and especially because of the humble beginnings that he came from and reflecting the humble beginnings of Christ. And he said that we always have someone in our lives that will keep us humble, even if it's sometimes, in my case, a member of my own church. And I never forget when he was appointed as pastor of Trinity Methodist Church in Waycross, Georgia. There was a woman who was the oldest living charter member of the church, Mrs. Corey Yarbrough. She was 91 years old. And if you were appointed to that church, there's one thing that you had to do. Your first visit had to be to Ms. Corey. And he went to see her. She was in a nursing home, and she was hard of hearing at that point in time. And so Daddy said, we had a yelling good time while we were there visiting with each other. And so Daddy's used this story many times in talking about the Christmas season and humility. And he came in and he said, Miss Corey, it sure is good to see you. And she says, oh, Brother Beverly, they've got me in this nursing home now, and I'm so sorry that I can't come to hear you preach. And Daddy said, Miss Corey, you've lived a life very well. And there is absolutely nobody that is part of the words of Christ saying, well done, good and faithful servant as you are. And he said, and besides, I don't think you've missed much of anything by not hearing me preach. And she said, yeah, that's what they tell me. And as he said, humility comes in all sizes and from all people. I hope during this Christmas season that we can all remember humility and that we can carry that in our journey into what we hope will be a better year in 2021. May God bring that to us. Would you pray with me? Our gracious Father, we thank you for the privilege of being able to serve you. And we ask your blessings on each of these men and women who serve our community. Today, making decisions that sometimes are difficult to make our community thrive and to improve. Lord, help them to be guided by the best of what our community has, and also help them to be guided by you and help them to serve in humility. Lord, we ask that as we walk this journey toward the manger in this specific week, help us all to remember the humility of Christ and the humble beginnings from which he came. Bless us all, and Lord, thank you for every blessing that we have, because we know they all come from you. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Roll call.
Alexander. Here. Arnold. Here. Deckel. Here. Brantley. Here. Brown Claudel. Here. Brown Scott. Here. Bryan. Here. Bush. Here. Fleet. Here. Compton. Here. Eaton.
Here.
Ellison. Here. Gobble. Here. Hale. Here. Johnson Arthur. Johnson Barber.
Here.
Martin.
Here.
Mercer. Montague.
Here.
Pearson. Petty.
Here.
Spearman.
Here.
Stevenson.
Here.
Taylor.
Here.
Wall.
Here.
23 present, Mr. Chairman.
23 present, 2 absent. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes of the last 3 meetings?
So moved. Second.
Have a motion second, any discussion? Those dates would be October the 19th, November the 16th, and November the 23rd. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None. Presentation from our county mayor.
We have no presentation, Mr. Chairman.
Announcement from the chair. Let me just remind, this has been a tough year for a lot of different reasons, a lot of different things, but I've lost a lot of good friends in the last few weeks, and some of you have had the same. Dr. Charles Ames passed away a few weeks ago. Brother Norwood Jones passed away last night, along with his co-worker and co-owner of the old country store was Clark Shaw. So these were men of, they were community treasures. They meant a lot to a lot of people. They were very giving, very humble, and very serving. They were very righteous men. I love both of them dearly. Dr. Ames was in that same category. Some of you may have known him, you may not have. But I had another good friend, Jimmy Pettigrew, that was worked for me many years ago, but has been in Jackson for a long time and served in a number of capacities. So I know all of you have had friends you've lost and people that you love that's no longer with us. But this time of the year, in this 2020 year, we've seen a lot of division. We've seen a lot of things go wrong. We've seen things happen that we've never seen before in our life. You know, I guess probably if we have one thing we'd like to do, irregardless of our political positions, irregardless of where we stand on some things, you know, we're all child of the kings. God created each and every one of us. He called us for a purpose. But one thing he called us to was to love one another. And I think that we could come to that conclusion. Some of y'all may not love me, but I love you. And I appreciate most all of you. We don't agree on everything. We don't always have the same opinion. But as Americans, we can come to a solution in a time in our lives where we can make things better for the community right where we live, right here in Jackson, Tennessee. So I just want to say on this Christmas that I appreciate this opportunity I've had to serve in Madison County for 24 years. And all of you have been more to me than you probably realize. But thank you for what you've done in Madison County. This is a thankless job in many ways, I realize that. But it's also a rewarding job in many ways also. So thank you for serving. Thank you, Claudette, for your time and service. You've been here a long time. Luther, you've been here a long time. Jimmy Arnold, you've been here a long time. Arthur Johnson, been here a long time. Katie, I think you've been here a long time.
I have a long time.
You lived a long time.
A very long time.
But thank all of you. And just a reminder too that, I don't know, Tony White, this is his last meeting, his last hurrah with the county. Tony, we're gonna miss you. You did an outstanding job. Everybody didn't love you either, but I loved you. I thought you did a great job. Ed Smith will be leaving. Brenda Satoris is already retired. Kim Buckley's retiring. Did I leave anybody out? Anybody else retiring? Brenda Satoris is already retired, right? And Brenda was with the county for a long, long time. All of those folks were dedicated county employees and done an outstanding job. And we'll miss them. And that's all I want to say about that. Item number 5, report from our school superintendent, Dr. King.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I just want to say, on behalf of the school board and the office of the superintendent, we are just grateful for the community support this semester. Has been has been the most challenging semester I've ever experienced in education. But I tell you, because of the support from this community and the partnerships that our school system has made it's been very rewarding. I'm energized by the support, and I appreciate Karen. There we have a great established relationship where we've really been working and looking on a weekly basis at things that we can do to make sure that we provide more money in the classroom for our teachers, for our students, to make Jackson Madison County School System the best school system in the state of Tennessee. Right now, our spending is down by $2.6 million. I did share one of our Envision committee meetings that when I came in, I had 2 secretaries. I went down to 1 secretary. I want to be a model as the leader first before I tell others how we need to spend. So, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Mayor, and the Board of Commission, thank you, and I really appreciate it, and have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Thank you, Dr.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Claudel Brown.
I'm a Baptist,
Yes.
and I'm accustomed to saying amen to the truth
Amen.
and to witness to that which is positively different. This young man has come here in the middle of a storm. He has come at a time when there was a fork in the road and we weren't sure which direction to go. We ran into a pandemic and a lot of other things. And I'd just like for us to give everybody can come in here in a wheelchair, give him a standing ovation, and his staff for the first 6 months in the middle of this. I've never seen such a cool head. I used to work, I'm going to be brief, I used to work in employee relations for the state. And you who are employees, I want to let you on a little tip. Nothing lifts the morale of an employee as much as a decisive, superior boss.
Amen.
When your boss is shaky and uncertain and afraid of his job, you feel uneasy about yours. Let's give Dr. King and his staff at school board a big hand for going through this storm and leading us in such a way.
Can anyone hear me? Is this mic working? I don't think it's working. Can y'all hear me in the back? Report from our Finance Director, Karen Bell.
Okay, I got just a few things to go over with you today. First of all, we did county training with some of our county departments November the 17th through the 19th, and we had 60+ employees to go through that training. Secondly, one of the retirements that you failed to mention was Bill Benson, County Purchasing
Bill
Director.
Benson, I'm sorry.
37 and a half years. And we're happy today to have with us Ms. Kathy Rankin, who is our new Purchasing Director. Kathy was formerly employed with Fairfax County Government in Fairfax, Virginia, and was responsible for procurement activities. And most recently, she worked for the Kirkland's Corporation here in Jackson, Tennessee. She has been through the National Institute of Government Purchasing, so we're very happy to have Kathy on staff. So if y'all make her feel welcome. Next, I want to go over through November 30th, the revenues. These are the ones that we cut in the budget. I've got it up here on the board for you so that you can kind of see where we are year to date. Of course, if you remember when the budget was prepared, we were projecting 10% decreases in a lot of our revenues. So what I did, I put up here the most current ones so that you can see last year as compared to this year on our property tax, our sales tax, our hotel motel tax, and our business tax. Most, as you can see, are tracking way above what we anticipated, which is a great thing for Madison County. Also, our gasoline and motor fuel tax, and I'll be happy to email this out to the commissioners after the meeting so that you'll have a copy of that. But I wanted you to see where we are as of November 30th, and things are pretty much on track for Madison County. The next thing I want to go over, of course, is our debt service. I want to make sure that everybody is aware of where we are in our debt service. There's been a lot of capital projects talked about lately, so I want to make sure you see where we are with our debt service. At the end of this year, our principal balance on debt service will be $65,145,000 at the end of FY21. So I just wanted to make sure you're aware of where we are because, like I said, there's been a lot of capital projects talked about, so I want you to see where we are. And, of course, we still have some decisions to make on the new jail as far as the furnishings and equipment for the new jail. The next item that I want to go over is our fund balances. I know I keep hitting you with that every month, but I want to stress where we are. Our general fund balance, again, these are unaudited numbers. I know a lot of you are thinking, why haven't we gotten the audit? Well, of course, COVID put them behind as well. We anticipate that sometime during the month of January, the audit will be made public. We do not even have a draft at this point, so I've not even written the management discussion and analysis portion. But our general fund balance at this time is $9.8 million. The next thing that I want to bring to your attention is there is an opportunity, we do not know how much, that there will be some new revenue coming to Madison County. Many of you may be aware, as of November 1st, Public Chapter number 570, I'm sure you've seen many of the commercials on TV, the Sports Gaming Act. Let me tell you how that impacts the county. 15% of the privilege tax that's collected by the treasurer will come back to each county and city based on the per capita basis. Again, this just went into effect November 1st. I've talked to Trustee Newman, and he and I will be watching, so hopefully by the end of the first quarter of calendar year 2021, we'll kind of have an idea of how much. That is to be used for infrastructure. It has designated purpose when the public chapter was adopted. So I know the commercials are driving you crazy, but let's hope some people participate because some Madison County money will come back from that.
Does that mean all bookies become legal?
Well, under this public chapter, so. All right, the next thing that I do want to bring a closure to is the expenditures for the sheriff's lawsuit. The total legal expenses for the sheriff's lawsuit was $616,842.68, with the county paying $292,782.21 for our legal fees, $324,060.47 for the sheriff's legal fees, and the cost of the 7% raises that hit our budget this year, raises and benefits, $517,173. One other thing that I want to bring you up to date on, I'm sure you've heard many times us talk about the ExecuTime, the attendance tracking software that was purchased December of 2018. Currently, we have all but 5 Madison County departments are live on that. We hope over the next 30 to 60 days we will have the remainder of those, so that will satisfy one of the audit findings that Madison County has had for many years. That concludes my report. Oh, one more thing I did want to say, Mr. Chairman, is I just had one quote that I wanted to leave the commission with as we close out 2020. I thought it was a great quote. Individuals play the game. Teams beat the odds. And I want to say Madison County has beat the odds this year, and I'm very thankful to be a part of that.
Beautiful.
Thank you, Karen. Item number 7, report from county officials, standing in special committees, and any and old business action thereof by this board. Commissioner Bush.
The Highway Committee met on December 16th, and we voted to raise or lower the speed limit on Pitkin Road. And there's a section, about a 9/10 of a mile section that's in the county. We voted to lower the limit from 40 miles per hour to 30 miles per hour, so that's the same as what the city speed limit is, and that's a committee recommendation.
Committee recommendation, no second required. Any discussion? Somebody answer the phone. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None. Commissioner Thomas.
Mr. Chairman, the Capital Committee met, as I mentioned last meeting, and we looked at allocations from our capital fund balance as it stands right now. And what we came up with is the following allocations were made as a committee recommendation. Now, these allocations were made contingent upon the numbers being in the final audit. So we have allocations that were come up with. Going into the meeting, we had a fund balance of around $1.65 million-ish, and we have allocated about $1.25 million, or I think it was actually 1.6 going in. So we've actually left about $350,000 in capital fund balance for emergencies after these allocations. Again, all of these are contingent upon the audit coming back. So we need to vote today on these allocations. Once, if approved,
then they'll go back to be written as budget amendments upon the audit coming back, which will probably be in February, and it'll come back through financial management and back through this body as budget amendments, and then the departments will be able to spend. Capital Committee looked at these upon top priorities submitted, but Ms. Bell sent to department heads that they could get done capital projects this FY and spend this FY. There was one exception to that, and I'll say what that is once we go through the list, but just for the minutes, I want to make sure that we read through these on what these allocations are. So the committee recommendation is that we allocate to the Madison County Assessor $6,500 for desk chairs, $165,300 to General Sessions Division 2 for carpet upstairs in the clerk's office, new courtroom, remodeling new courtroom, HVAC for new courtroom, furniture, paint new courtroom downstairs and upstairs hallway, and oak bench for new courtroom. And this pretty much takes care of what Judge Little is needing to finish her building up. We have Madison County Buildings allocation of $217,999.84. This takes care of new carpet in the CJC courtrooms, 4 courtrooms, new benches in the CJC courtrooms, it's 56 benches, and it paves the juvenile court parking lot. We have Madison County Parks and Recreation, $250,000. Now this is the remainder of the grant for the equestrian park and playground equipment. That's a matching grant from the state. This is the one exception of money that will be spent before the end of this year, but we need to allocate this to allow bids to go out to get the equestrian park done. They have to have this grant done by next December, and for these grants for us to be able to do this, we've got to allocate the money for the bids to go out. We've got Madison County Sheriff's Department. We've got a total of $545,413.49. This takes care of 11 vehicles, a maintenance truck, transport vans, 2 of them, equipment for the vans, 10 DVR cameras, and walkie-talkies. And these were top priorities by the sheriff and the Sheriff's Department to get these capital done now. Madison County Finance, $10,000 for some cubicle module office partitions. Health Department Solid Waste Convenience Centers, replaced the asphalt at Meaden Convenience Center for $30,000. And the Health Department Rabies Control, a truck that needed to be replaced for rabies for $25,000. And that's a total of $1,250,213.33 to be allocated. And again, this will still leave us with $350,000 in capital fund balance for emergencies for the rest of this FY.
And these allocations are to be finished by this budget year, correct?
With the exception of the grant for Parks and Rec, which we know won't be, but it has to be allocated so the bids will go out so that we can get that done by next December.
You want to take all these together?
I would like to take all of that allocation together as a committee recommendation.
Committee recommendation, no second required. Do you have any questions about any of them? Capital Committee's done a very good job in allocating this money to use it where it's most needed. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? No.
I got one more, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, the Legislative Resolution Committee also met this last week, and we had one item that we had to take up as an item of business, and this was changing some language on the Civil Service Act. And after we met, every commissioner did receive the resolution, and it's the resolution to urge the Tennessee General Assembly to enact the private act, repealing the private act of 2015, Chapter 6, and establishing a new Civil Service Commission system. And I know Attorney Maroney worked exclusively with the sheriff and Mr. Godwin on doing this, but basically this act is clearing some language up and is changing the Civil Service Act that we've had in place for about 5 years to really give our civil service, the interpretation of what our Civil Service Board, what the spirit of this law was really intended to be, hasn't always been what has been found, and we have basically cleared some of the language up to just clear that up to give the Civil Service Board clear instruction, and all of this has to do with the procedures or the hiring, firing, promotions, and demotions that the sheriff can do, and then the appeals process that can go to the Civil Service Board. And this is just to clear up the fact that the Civil Service Board is not to take the place of the sheriff, but to ensure that the processes were followed correctly. And that is the kind of the gist of the entire language cleanup. But once we get to any discussion, Attorney Maroney would be able to have any answers if you had any questions. But it is a committee recommendation that we make these changes, Mr. Chairman.
Committee recommendation, no second required. Any discussion? Any questions for our attorney? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None. Yes, sir.
Go ahead. Go ahead. I'll yield.
Mr. Chairman, the excess and resale property committee met December the 9th, and we got some property we are breaking as a recommendation from the excess and resale property committee. The first one is Rich Family and Trust for $1,000 on 226 Sims Avenue. That's a recommendation from.
Can anybody hear what he said?
I'm sorry,
Hear.
right here.
I can't hear you back right there.
Okay. I said excess and resale committee, excess and resale property committee met the 9th of December. We have some property we'll bring before this committee as a recommendation from the resale and excess property committee. And the first one is the Rich Family Trust for $1,000 at 226 Sims Avenue.
Committee recommendation, no second required. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None.
Next one is Richard and Lois Nichols and L for $1,017, no cent. That's at 255 Baltimore Street.
Committee recommendation, no second required. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None.
Next one is Jaquan and Wanda Newsom. They offer for $1,105.66. That is on 425 Hayes Avenue.
Committee recommendation, no second required. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None.
Next one was Venture Industrial. They offer $1,500. That's on 250 East Orleans.
Committee recommendation, no second required. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None.
Next was CRV Properties. They offer $5,000. That's on 1401 Chester Street.
Committee recommendation, no second required. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None.
CRV Properties again offer $2,500. That was on 16 Carmel Street.
Committee recommendation, no second required. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None.
Last one was Leon and Brenda Hayes, offer $1,000 for North Street.
Committee recommendation, no second required. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None.
That's all my report. Thank you. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Petty.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. From the Conservation Board, which was already announced this since our last day, and from Ed and Milton County's here from our board, and we just wanted to say thanks to the Capital Committee and to the full body. We appreciate the support for this grant. Money being funded and get it squared away. We're excited about the progress the Conservation Board is going to make to our parks and area and getting this equestrian center going too. And we want to say goodbye to Ed and thank you for all you've done for Madison County, for our Parks and Recreation Department, and we're going to miss you. I hope you enjoy your time as much as I enjoyed mine. All right, now, this is from the Property Committee regarding the chicken barns that y'all put on our table last month, and we have explored this extensively, and we have come to the conclusion, along with the people who are in support of trying to do something to stop these chicken barns. We worked together real hard in our meeting. It was a very lengthy meeting, and I appreciate everybody's participation. And we had a lot of discussion about it, but we've come to the conclusion that there's really not a whole lot that we can do as far as trying to do any zoning regulations or anything else. We've explored them all possibilities. And they understand, but we have come to the conclusion as a committee recommendation that we would like to turn this matter over to the health department and let them explore the possibilities. And now I'd like to call on Mr. Claudel Johnson here to, he's got some insight on where some other states have done this, and I'll let him come to the front and explain that part. If this is part of a committee recommendation, turn this over to the health department so it puts it on the board, on the floor for discussion.
Well, first I'd like to say thank you to the property committee for listening to us and us working together towards this. My name is Paul Johnson. I live in the Peace Bluff community. And, you know, we understand that as a legal body, your hands are currently, they're tied by state law. We understand that. We appreciate you listening. We would also appreciate you turning this over to the health department with a strong recommendation that they seriously consider this. I have heard that, well, this hadn't been done in Tennessee. That's true. This has not been done in Tennessee. But I have two cases right here from Missouri that face the same thing that we're facing, that has made it a health regulation. And this was done in 2016, and this one was done in 2013. And I'm talking about Lynn County, Missouri, and Cedar County, Missouri. And the county attorney has been emailed these two regulations. Well, you got it. And I will see that anybody needs this information. What we're asking is that the county health board look at this as a health concern. It's not saying they can't put chicken barns in Madison County, but it's saying you have to have setback guidelines, you have to establish permitting, you have to post bonds because, look, when there's waste and it disappears and the people disappear, the waste is still there, and that leaves the burden on the county. And we as taxpayers don't want to pick that up either. There's also going to be other issues that need to be discussed and designed into this regulation for Madison County to protect each citizen of Madison County, because these are very damaging operations. These are not local farming events. This is CAFOs, consolidated animal feeding operation. It's not about just chickens, okay? It's not about your normal chicken coop or your normal farm. These regulations doesn't come into play until you have over 16,000 chickens. That's a lot of chickens. If we could get y'all to strongly recommend to the health department that they consider and at least try to work with us to get something resolved on this. These houses are going to be built very fast. We're expecting one, or when I say one, I'm talking about one location, which will have from 3, 4, or 8 barns on each location. We need to work together to come up with something where you don't mind living in any part of Madison County because you don't have to worry about the environmental impact or the health impact or the impact to our school system. These trucks that will be used to transport these, it takes 19 semi-trucks to empty one house every 42 days. Okay? There's one location, and one of the commissioners has rode with me, and I've showed him this. I would hate for a school bus to get hit, or for a school bus to hit a semi-truck. We don't need that. We don't need that. So, if, you know, any help that the county commission can do for us to get the health department, the health board on board for this will be greatly appreciated. And it's for the betterment of our community. I thank you for your time, and I wish every one of you have a Merry Christmas. And all I want for Christmas is no chicken bars. Thank you.
Oh, Mr. John, hold on just a second. Mr. Cobb.
Mr. Chairman, I was just going to just piggyback on what Commissioner Petty and Mr. Johnson was saying. The language of this resolution and regulations that is being recommended by the Property Committee originated out of Henderson County. I believe an attorney in Henderson County actually wrote these, and the Henderson County Board of Health is actually taking this up the exact same way that we are recommending that we do this. And I talked to Commissioner Andy Anderson in Henderson County Commission, and they came to the same conclusion that we have, that this was the path of least resistance to try to get something done. And they have recommended, well, the Henderson County Commission has not recommended, because they haven't met yet, to do this, but the Henderson County Board of Health is urging a recommendation from their CLB, because that gives them more teeth to be able to do something. So we're actually asking ahead of time for this recommendation from this body to go to the Board of Health, to give our Board of Health the teeth that it needs to look at these recommendations and these regulations to just move forward on seeing what we can do. And I think Attorney Maroney said in the meeting too that he agreed that this is probably the least amount of brick wall in front of us in trying to do something.
Mr. Goblin.
Add to that now, y'all, what we want you to do is understand what the possibilities are. You've got some of these chicken barns that are being built in low-lying areas, floodplains even. And so if the water rises or the runoff of these things hitting these contributaries to some of our major waterways, it can do a lot of full-blown contamination. Plus the fact that the amount of chicken droppings that are going to be out there when you've got that many chickens in a particular place. And I understand that, you know, we're talking thousands of pounds per day of this thing accumulating, and so it's got to be dealt with, and they have a way of dealing with it, but yet it's got to be piled up until then. And then you've got the situation of, you know, the soil contamination and getting these people's wells that live out in the county. So you've got a lot of different aspects here, along with the odor, the possible, you know, health conditions that exist there, flies, it goes on and on and on. So we need the support, and we need to all stand behind trying to get something done with and motivate our health department to try to take necessary action.
Commissioner Goblin.
Claude, can you explain the chain of ownership? Go over that, please.
Well, as far as in Madison County, what happens, the way these chicken barns get in the county is, of course, if somebody's got land for sale and somebody makes a bid, you have to sell it. I mean, you know, that's just a business deal. But the problem is the people that are selling the land don't always know what is going to be used for. So you can't just say, well, my neighbor did this. You know, the people that are buying these and putting these in, on most every occasion, I only know of a couple farms in Henderson County that a local farmer is actually trying to do. Everything else is from people out of state. And as I've said before, the revenue for Madison County is going to be, the only thing that I know of would be the property tax. Because employment tax, there's only 2 people, and they're the ones that live on the farm. So, ownership, you know, people sell, and I can give you an example. There's 24 barns sold, or land, 188 acres sold in Henderson County. And it was actually, you were the executor of the estate. I don't know that he knew that they were going to put chicken barns on it. He was just doing, and I say he, the mayor, Mayor Harris. But we don't know that he knew they were putting chicken barns in. We're not accusing anybody of anything. But the thing is, if somebody offers people money for their land and they sell it, you can't hold it against them. But what you can do is put in regulations that if they're going to put in a chicken barn, they have to be financially accountable to the county and to their neighbors, and which right now they're not. So, did that answer your question?
Well, particularly, I think that Tyson does not own the property.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood. Okay, so currently, just, you know, and I've said this before, Tyson does not own this property. These are not Tyson farms. These are LLC corporations that are set up to protect the landowner, the new landowner, from any lawsuits. Most people that deal in business know that if you set up an LLC, private assets are not, it's very hard to touch them. And so what these farmers do, Tyson contracts with the farm and agrees to pay them or to buy their chickens, not to buy their chickens, to pay them to service Tyson's chickens for a period of time. And when they come and get the chickens, you know, they count the chickens and they're paid based off of that. The chickens are always owned by Tyson, but the land and the poop is always owned by the landowner. Okay? And so that's where the disconnect is. If it's such a great deal, why would Tyson own the farms? Because then they would be financially responsible for the damage. Right now, they're not. And the way their system is, at least of everything I've seen, means they're not financially responsible.
That means also that person, that should they go defunct after a period of time, then they move out, they leave on their LLC, and whatever's left there is left there. Tyson turns around and finds another family to put in there. And then, and the family may not be from this country. It could be anybody. And so, but they come in and they start up the same operation. And they are very appreciative of the opportunity that's been presented to them by Tyson, not knowing that what all the possibilities are. And so it's, you know, they let Tyson know how much they appreciate the opportunity. Here they are coming from another country, and they're now in the United States, and have all the privileges of freedom. You know, spirit of what the economy is all about. So, and then as they go along, and if they wear out for whatever reason, or you know, they end up going out of business, boom, they're out. Tyson finds somebody else to slide them in.
Right. So, and two, if
Is that what you meant?
yeah, you know, and just so you know, if you watch the news, you've seen where the Tyson managers got fired for betting on who was going to get COVID and all this in the plants. And also where Tyson is being sued by Chick-fil-A for price fixing on chickens. I don't know if that's true. I just know that's what's in the news. But why would they not own the farms they're raising their own chickens on if there's not an issue? And so that's all I ask is that we do all we can to regulate it and make sure that they are financially responsible to our county and that they afford the neighbors in the community a reasonable setback to where they're far enough away to not interfere with the quality of life of the people that own the land connected or in their neighborhood.
Commissioner Bush, you have a question?
I don't have a question. I just had two things I wanted to make sure we got on the record before we voted. First, the proposed language that the property committee is asking for the health department board to consider has been vetted by CTAS. So this language that came out of Henderson County has been looked at by CTAS and signed off on. Second, we need time was of the essence. The property committee is asking that the health department board consider this by January 15th. So that was part of the motion that was made, and I just want to make sure everyone knew that what we're asking is the health department board to meet before January 15th to consider these regulations, and I'd urge everyone to vote in favor of this.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes, I'd like to question if we could be proactive, or if the law will permit us, we ban certain usage of certain kinds of businesses under various zones in our county and city. Is there any way we can put a prohibition against certain usage? Because he hit on the point that it will come to play, period. When I sell my property to John Doe, whatever the original zoning was and my purpose for getting it, everything could change. Is there any way we could put a blanket prohibition on this type of thing?
May I respond to that? There's already some 40 chicken barns already underway in construction.
In Madison County?
In Madison County. So, and you know, we're closing the barn door.
Too late.
Too late. Okay.
Well, just to answer, as a practical matter, no, you can't ban the usage. That goes back to the zoning issue. That would be a land use issue, which is part of zoning. And, you know, as been discussed, and we talked about it at the other meeting too, the state has essentially stripped that power away from local governments to regulate by zoning. That's one reason I think they're looking at this alternative method.
Yes, sir. That's agreed. And there again, I agree with what they're saying based on the law. I understand what they're saying. I'm not upset about that. I wish there was a way that if there is not a physical structure going up, that it could be postponed to regulations and then determined. I don't know if that's.
We don't have the power to do that.
Yeah, and so, you know, that's you can't put the cart before the horse. So we're just trying to do what we can, because all of this came to our attention, just like y'all's attention, after the fact. It's kind of done in the dark, and groundwork's done, and, you know, that's what we're facing.
Chairman, I thought.
Commissioner Brown?
I was just going to ask him, we also maybe brought it to DOT to see, because this is going to make a big impact on our roads and bridges and with the upscale traffic.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes, I just wanted to repeat some of the things that Junior said about, I don't think Tyson is worthy to even be working here, because I saw that on the news too, where the poor little people working in the chicken part were dying, and the men up front, the big to-dos up front, were betting on who would be the next one to fall over. And at least 30 people died. I think it was in North Dakota or one of those states up there. So I wouldn't buy any more Tyson chicken, to tell you that much.
Commissioner Stevenson?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to call for the question.
Second.
And I was reminded, this is not a resolution, this is a request to the health department.
But we would like full support of this commission.
Who has that language?
Sorry?
Who has that language?
You got it. Okay.
You mean the language of your recommendation?
Yes.
I can give you some language.
No, but we wouldn't,
We need to get it to Fred.
Correct me if I'm wrong, I understood your recommendation to be that you were asking the health
Copy
department.
Henderson County.
I'm sorry,
We're copying Henderson County's recommendation.
I heard part of what you said, I'm sorry.
We're copying, we're using a copy of Henderson County's resolution that'll probably be changed up a little bit to have Madison County in there instead of Henderson County. Is that correct?
Henderson County doesn't actually, to my knowledge, have a resolution yet.
No, it's not a resolution.
Yeah.
This is a draft.
He has, well, I think what has been submitted are some regulations for that the Henderson County Board of Health is going to be considering in the near future. And I think as I understand your recommendation is for the Madison County Board of Health to consider the proposed regulations in Henderson County to see if that those or similar regulations would be applicable here.
That's correct. We want the health department to be able to have the privilege of wording their own recommendations.
Just for the record, what was sent to Mr. Maroney from me was the exact Henderson County recommendation, or the Henderson County regulations, or as was proposed to the Henderson County regulations. The only exception was where it said Henderson County, the name was changed to Madison County. Also, the synopsis was the same way, and these regulations that have been vetted by CTAS is exactly the same thing, except it has been replaced with the words Madison County instead of Henderson County. So that's, as far as the regulations and all, we're not trying to do anything any different. And we do understand that there might be some changes necessary for Madison County. But is that what you're understanding?
You bet.
And you're asking the Health Department Committee to meet by January the 15th?
Yeah.
Is that correct?
That's what I was gonna clarify.
Mayor, would you see that happen? Everybody understand what you're voting on? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None. Thank you, Commissioner Petty. Do we have any more committee reports? Commissioner Stevenson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Insurance Committee met this past week, and we haven't met since May, but we have a current balance, and I'll let the Deputy Mayor correct me if I'm wrong, of around $1.7 to $1.8 million. So I just wanted to make the committee aware of that our fund balance for insurance is 1.7 to 1.8 million.
That's a moving target, so it's probably changed since the moving. Any other committee reports? If not, we'll move on. Item number 9, report from the county mayor.
I'll be short. Just want to say thanks to Ed for what a few years he was here. Managed our parks recreation. Ed did a good job and wish you well. Whatever pictures you're going to after this. Also, I don't think she's in here, but Kim Buckley is retiring. And I don't know how many years Kim has. 37 years, I think. One thing I have to say, we have never had a question as far as the integrity of the election in Madison County, Tennessee. And I think that is a testament to Kim's hard work and dedication and having a fair, honorable election. We appreciate Kim doing that. We wish her well in her retirement. Also, the guy sitting over here, of course, you know that this will be his last meeting. You know, I want to say how much I appreciate him and what he brought to this county. Not only, he started out as the HR director, but it didn't take long, about, I think, 8 or 10 months, that I realized that this is the guy that needs to sit in the deputy mayor's spot. And I think one thing Tony's done, well, one of many, is I think all the employees in Madison County have a very healthy respect and appreciation of Tony. None of them ever been hesitant to come and talk to him about situations because he made stuff available, and he did a good job in that. And certainly, he and Misty both, and other people were very instrumental in getting the unit set up, as well as executive time and this time of attendance thing. And we appreciate that. Tony brought the HR, what I'd like to say, Tony brought the HR department have in place that protect the county as far as making sure we're doing things right as far as employees, their pay, their benefits, and things like that. And I wish you'd all give Tony a big hand and say thank you. This coming year, 2021, is our bicentennial for Madison, Tennessee. We'll finish this is 200 years. I thought about this 6 or 7 months ago, and COVID overwhelmed everything. But anyway, I've asked Elaine Christian to chair a committee to help us put together a bicentennial celebration that it's not just a one-time thing, I mean, one event kind of through the year. Mayor Conger had already asked her to chair the city's bicentennial, which is your acronym, 22. So this committee that she put together will handle both of these and help guide us through an appropriate way to celebrate our 200 years of existence. And I'm excited about it. I think Elaine will do a good job. I think she's already got Trey hooked in and chairing one of her subcommittees or something like that. So I think it will be good. Folks, 200 years is something to celebrate. I hope we can do it right so everybody can learn a little bit about our history in our county and maybe our kids as well. Hopefully we can get some information to the schools to help them build up to, I think actually November the 7th or 9th is the official day where we're going to have all events during the year. So last thing is just remember Commissioner Pearson. He's still in the hospital. As far as I know, he's still on the ventilator. He's still struggling. So just remember he and his family in the thoughts and prayers for the sick. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mayor. Item number 10, consideration of possible appointment.
Could I suggest that we coordinate with the city? I understand theirs is not till 2021, I believe. Is that correct?
22.
Yeah. 42. Can we coordinate with the city in doing this?
Well, that's what we're doing, Tom. The committee is going to handle both of them. And historically, the things that we will be commemorating and things like that, the majority of it will have happened within the city. But there's a lot of things that the county has separate. But yes, I mean, that's all we're doing.
Okay, thank you.
I omitted number 8. I apologize. I'll go back to number 8. Any commitment, amendments or transfers to the general fund, school department, capital projects, highway department, debt service, juvenile court service budget for fiscal year 2020-2021. Mayor.
Okay, Bo's not here today, so I'm going to present these to you and make sure that there is the list I'm looking at. We'll go schools first. Okay. This is Fund 141, General Purpose Schools, $5,150 being transferred to purchase software which will aid in uniform and consistent placement of pre-K students in the district. Committee recommendation.
Committee recommendation, no second required. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None.
Number 2, $76,850. Amendment adds federal revenue received to be used for unemployment compensation. Committee recommendation.
Committee recommendation, no second required. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None.
All right, we go back to the general fund. Sheriff's Department, $7,950. This is insurance recovery from total loss of 2015 Ford cars. Committee recommendation.
Committee recommendation, no second required. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None.
Next, Sheriff's Department, $5,295.16. This is towing reimbursement, inmate medical reimbursement, juvenile meals reimbursement, drug task force overtime reimbursement, and SRO for ball game overtime. Committee recommendation.
Committee recommendation, no second required. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None.
Number 5, Madison County EMA, $1,000. This is a utility account refund. Committee recommendation.
Committee recommendation, no second required. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None.
Number 6, maintenance, $17,000. This is from fund balance. Maintenance, $17,700. Capital fund, amount needed to complete bid for the roof at the courthouse was approved. Estimated 130 came in at 147.7, so this is to make up for that difference. It is commission recommendation.
Committee recommendation, no second required. Any discussion? Commissioner Doug Cleveland.
Mr. Chairman, can I just make a comment here? Are we moving forward with Ms. Rankin over here to change how we're doing this bidding process on this? Is this something that the Financial Management Committee is going to be looking at to try to get this a little more streamlined?
I think Karen has already put a lot of thought into that and a lot of plans, and as far as I know, already in process, I'm working on that as we speak.
That is correct, and as you remember, I did bring before the board, the body to say that CTAS has stated that in our bids, we can state that we do not have funding appropriated so that this body would discuss it and chosen before we actually award a budget amendment for approval, so that has been. And yes, we will be changing several of the processes, soliciting more bids than what we've seen in the past, and finding out why some of our vendors have not been bidding is one of the things that we want to go after.
Thank you.
Committee recommendation, no second required. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? No. Have one no.
Number 7, finance juvenile court payouts, $2,511.96. Juvenile court services, termination payout for juvenile court services employee in November, $1,794.67 comes from fund balance. Committee recommendation.
Committee recommendation, no second required. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None.
Sheriff's Department, $14,550 capital fund. Money needed in addition to insurance recovery to purchase 2018 Ford Explorer to replace total 2015 Ford Taurus. Total cost $22,500. Insurance recovery $7,950. Committee recommendation.
Committee recommendation, no second required. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None.
Number 9, Sheriff's Department, $8,721. Replace prior year purchase order that was encumbered and consequently sent to the wrong vendor. Committee recommendation.
Committee recommendation, no second required. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None.
Finance Sheriff's Department, $26,942.90. Termination payout for Sheriff's Department employees in November. $22,141.36 comes from fund balance. Committee recommendation.
Committee recommendation, no second required. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None.
$20,750.09 from fund balance, termination payout, retirement incentive for solid waste employees in November. Committee recommendation.
Committee recommendation, no second required. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None.
12, finance / solid waste, $19,051.52 from fund balance, termination payout, retirement incentive for soil conservation employee in November. Committee recommendation.
Committee recommendation, no second required. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None.
13, county attorney, $20,950 additional billable hours for the first half of the fiscal year. Committee recommendation.
Committee recommendation, no second required. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None.
Number 14, finance, sheriff's department, $517,173.34. This is for the 7% increase in certified deputies and correction officers for the remainder of the year pursuant to the court order and sheriff's lawsuit. Committee recommendation.
Committee recommendation, no second required. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None.
We have two, Mr. Chairman, that came in after financial, correct, Karen?
That's correct. One of them is actually replaces number 10 as far as some of the line items, and this is what you see here. We had to work with Mr. Irwin and the Sheriff's Department. Some have been coded incorrectly, so this will replace number 10. So, and then the second one is for the fire department. So we need to take this one first.
Mr. Chairman, I move we suspend the rules in order to take.
Have a motion to suspend the rules? Motion to second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None.
Okay, you heard, Karen, this is to straighten out some of the people, get the pay increases in the correct category, correct?
That's correct.
For the correct people, $26,942.90.
Move to approve.
Commissioner Coppin.
Move to approve.
Have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second by Commissioner Britton. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None.
Second one is from the fire department, $31,399.90. Karen, can you tell them about that?
Yes, this is to add, Chief Turner's request, this is to add an additional paid firefighter that will begin in January, and this takes care of the salary and benefits that will be needed for that staff member.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve.
Have a motion to approve. Do I have a second? Second. Have a second by Commissioner Brown. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None.
That's all the amendments, Mr. Chairman.
That's all the amendments. Item number 10, consideration of possible appointment for the Madison County School Board District 5, Position 2. Commissioner Becker.
I move that we appoint Scott Gatlin to the position.
Have a motion for Scott Gatlin.
Second.
Have a second. Yes, sir.
In light of the fact that whoever fills this position is going to be in that position for upwards of 2 years, I move that we have a special election to allow people who actually live in that district to have a say in it.
Second.
Have a motion and second. Commissioner Maloney, Lawyer Maloney. Can't do that.
That is actually something that's governed by statute, by state law. State law dictates that when there's a school board vacancy, the individual appointed by the county commission must serve until the conclusion of the vacated term. It's not something that the county commission has the ability to change.
Then I withdraw it.
Yes, sir.
Excuse me, Mr. Attorney, could you say that again, please?
State law is what determines it. In many vacancies, when a vacancy occurs, a special election follows if it's within X number of days after the vacancy. But school board vacancies are governed by their own statute, a separate statute, which states that when there's a vacancy, the county commission appoints the individual who will fill the vacancy, and that person serves the balance of that vacated term. In other words, there's not a provision under state law for a special election for following a school board vacancy.
Okay. Was Mr. Merriweather's term going to be ending already last August?
I believe that it was.
I don't think it was.
Well, let me correct.
Because he had not served for about 6 months.
But, okay, I didn't state that properly. The special election would not follow within, for example, when Mr. Spain passed away, use another example. State law required you to have a special election, unless there was going to be an election within 120 days. But the state law for the school board does indicate that there will be one until the vacancy would serve until an election. So, for example, we don't have another election pending here in Madison County until another general election until August of 2022. In the case of Mr. Meriwether, there was a general election that was pending, I guess, August of 2020. So there's not a provision to have a special election prior to the time of the next general election.
Okay, my only reason for stating this is that we, in the last part you gave us, what we've been doing, is that we would appoint a person, commission would appoint a person to the next election. Sometime it might have been a county election, next one period. In that district, that would show up on that ballot. And my question was why this could not follow that same process. But I see as far as in calendar years, it'd be only a few months difference, but
I think it's the timing before the next general election.
Okay.
Is the issue. This one just falls. If this had fallen earlier this calendar year, it might have been a different result. It's just there's not another general election scheduled in our county until August of 22.
Commissioner Bryant.
Mr. Chairman, I'm not understanding, are we nominating at this point?
Yes, we are.
I would like to nominate Olivia Abernathy.
Have a motion to nominate Mr. Abernathy. Have a second. Any other nominations?
Close the nomination.
Have a motion to close the nominations. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None. So we're voting on Scott Gatlin and Ms. Abernathy.
Mr. Chairman, both of those people are here. Do we ask them to say something?
Yeah, either one would like to make a comment before they're welcome to. Scott, Ms. Abernathy.
Let her come down front.
You gotta come up front.
Yeah.
It's very scary up here, but you come up here.
Thank you for having me. I did not plan to say anything, but I would just like to make a comment that Mr. Montague is correct. This is an incredibly long appointment for our school system. I think it's very, very important that we have somebody in that position that understands the context of the Jackson-Madison County school system right now. There's a lot of hard decisions that are being made, and we need somebody who knows how those decisions are being affecting the students and the teachers and the staff and our administrators. And so I just moved to say that I hope you guys listen to your constituents, the constituents that are directly involved and consumers of the school system right now, because I have that working knowledge and I'm able to come in and immediately get to work. So, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gatlin.
Thank you, Chairman Deaton. Moved my family here in 1997. This is home, more so than where I grew up, and we're going to be here. I'm convinced that my background as a career educator and my experience with other boards and governing bodies qualify me to benefit the Jackson-Madison School Board. That's the only reason I'm running. And I know there are questions that are going to come up that nobody knows. I can promise you a reasoned approach and a commitment to solutions that are best for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gatlin. We're ready to vote. Vote for either Mr. Gatlin or Ms. Abernathy. Roll call.
Alexander.
Gatlin.
Arnold.
Gatlin.
Beckman.
Gatlin.
Brantley.
Gatlin.
Brown Claudel.
Abernathy.
Brown Scott.
Gatlin.
Bryant.
Abernathy.
Bush.
Gatlin.
Sweet.
Gatlin.
Thompson.
Gatlin.
Eaton.
Gatlin.
Ellison.
Abernathy.
Goblin. Gatlin. Hill.
Abernathy.
Johnson Arthur. Johnson Barber.
Gatlin.
Martin.
Abernathy.
Mercer.
Abernathy.
Montague.
Abernathy?
Pearson. Petty.
Gatlin.
Spearman.
Abernathy.
Stevenson.
Gatlin.
Taylor.
Gatlin.
Wall.
Gatlin.
Anybody like to change their vote? $15 for Gatlin, 8 for Abernathy, 2 absent. Mr. Scott Gatlin has been nominated to the school board. I would like to say for both of these candidates, we had 2 outstanding people to represent that district. Either one will do an outstanding job, and I'm glad to see that type of participation for our public school system, because it's very much needed. We appreciate the job that Dr. King is doing. Is there a school board member here? I think I saw any school board member. Mr. Johnson, thanks for being here today. Item number 11, consideration and possible approval of the agreement between Madison County, Tennessee and the Jackson-Madison County School System regarding Amaresco's payment.
Mr. Chairman, this just solidifies, Attorney Maroney has worked with the school board attorney, Dale Thomas. As you know, there was a portion not paid on the Amaresco debt this year. So what this does, it puts one in writing that there never was a contractual agreement between the county and the school system. And 2, it takes what was owed this year and spreads it out over the next few years and puts in writing what their payments will be to pay off their Amaresco debt. So that's what this agreement is.
Do we have a motion?
Make a motion.
Have a motion?
Second.
Have a second? Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None. Item number 12 has to go back before the insurance committee to make some appointments, so we'll put that back on January's agenda. Number 13, election of no republics.
So moved.
Have a motion?
Second.
Have a second? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None. Item number 14, any and all matters related to, connected with matters set forth in items 1 through 12. Mr. Brown.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to thank the mayor. I think it's his generosity for his traditional act of kindness for these beautiful boxes of country ham.
We do it every year.
I'd like to thank you. I'd like to express appreciation for this physique that you have contributed to largely.
Yeah, I'd like to say these country hams are very, very good. I was telling the mayor earlier that I just ate mine from last year, Sunday breakfast. I found a good way to cook it. I didn't have anything, so I decided what I would do. I soaked it in orange juice. And I want to tell you, boys, it's really, really good. At 350 degrees for 20 minutes, perfect. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Roll call.
Alexander.